Hello everyone, Darkside Phil here, and welcome to another edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series, where I give you maximum truth and minimum bullshit regarding the latest video game releases. And today, I would say, is somewhat of a special edition of the Hateful Truth, because typically I reserve my game reviews for full retail releases or, hyped games that people know about and want to say, gee, I really want to know if this game's worth buying or not, and Phil usually does a good job of, giving a full explanation of his experiences of the game, kind of unbiased, and, that's why I say maximum truth, minimum bullshit. But today we're going to talk about a game that really kind of slipped under the radar, a game that lots of people had no idea even existed. In fact, I didn't even know it existed until almost the last minute. A game that not only am I happy that I was able to play it, but I want to spread the word a little bit about it and let you know exactly whether or not you're the kind of person who would like to play this game. The game we're talking about today is Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. Now, before I even get started, I want to say this right up front. Wolfenstein: The Old Blood is not a full retail game. You can't go to the store and buy it. This is a digital-only release on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I'm not sure if it actually is even on the previous gen consoles, but it is the follow-up to 2014's successful Wolfenstein: The New Order, which was a full $60 retail release. So for those of you who didn't play that game, it was basically a return to the Wolfenstein universe where you resumed the role of BJ Blazkowicz, the longtime protagonist of the Wolfenstein series. It was the reimagining of the plotline of Wolfenstein 3D in the modern era on next-gen consoles. And a lot of people even kind of forgot about that game after it came out. I didn't, and I actually put it in my listing of some of the best games of last year. So fast forward to this year, and the same studio who made that game said, well, we'd like to do kind of more of that same kind of thing, but we don't have the budget to make another retail game, and quite honestly, we don't really have much, we don't have a whole new story to tell. So what they did is said, let's make a smaller version of a game like that, on a budget, and let's see what we can put together. And that's exactly what The Old Blood is. It's anywhere from a 5 to 7 hour long first-person shooter experience, taking you through 8 chapters of unique and original gameplay, retelling the story of BJ Blazkowicz from a prequel setting. So if you liked The New Order last year, the bottom line is you're gonna like The Old Blood because it's the same style of gameplay, it's the same character, only in a different setting and plotline. So allow me to give you the premise of the game. BJ Blazkowicz, the, kind of one-man army, he's kind of the Captain America of the first-person shooter universe when it comes to these style of World War II era games, has gone undercover and is sneaking into Castle Wolfenstein to try to get plans, a secret document folder that are going to have the location of Death's Head's compound. Now, for those who played The New Order last year, you know that's what that game was. They were actually infiltrating Death's Head's compound. So now you're trying to basically get the plans to find where that is so that that game can take place. Now, it's cool because the original Wolfenstein 3D game from back in the 1990s, that FPS classic game that put first-person shooters on the map and spawned such games as Doom, as well as Hexen, as well as Quake, and yada yada yada, took place in Castle Wolfenstein. So what this is taking kind of that same plot, but throwing it into the modern era. And what you have are 8 chapters of gameplay spanning from the time when you're trying to initially showing up undercover and sneaking into Castle Wolfenstein, eventually kind of getting captured a little bit, going through Castle Wolfenstein's dungeons, finally storming the castle, going through the castle's different levels, chasing on the heels of a researcher named Helga who works for the Third Reich, finally escaping Castle Wolfenstein, heading into an outlying kind of area and trying to stop Helga because it seems like she has the plans to Death's Head's castle. And that's kind of the premise of the game. You're behind enemy lines as BJ Blazkowicz, a one-man army, trying to survive. And of course you're going to be fighting all kinds of Nazis, including the generic troops, the ones who have the kind of more energized equipment from the other Wolfenstein games. As you know, the Nazis in these games for some reason have this crazy futuristic equipment, and this game is no exception. You're going to be fighting more powerful shotgun troops with big armor. You're going to be fighting guys in giant mech suits, in which finally some stealth gameplay will come into play, where you're going to want to sneak around instead of alerting them and try to turn off their power generators so that their suits power down, and then you can easily take them out of the suits. Later on, you will have to go more head up in boss-style fights whenever you fight these mechs, because it won't be able to, you won't be able to power down their suits. You'll just have to do it with more heavy weaponry. You'll also unlock tons of weaponry in the game, including a little sniper pistol, a grenade launching gun, a throwing knife, a regular melee knife, a pipe that you use not only to climb walls but also for melee attacks. You'll be unlocking standard assault rifles, dual assault rifles, shotguns, dual shotguns. Later on in the game, there's a double-barreled shotgun and a sniper rifle. So there is a lot of... Well, I take that back, not a sniper rifle, more like a rifle with a scope, so you have zoom, and it's used for sniping, but it's not a sniper rifle per se. Lots of gunplay in the game, but nothing that breaks the mold, nothing that's like, wow, I'm so original, I've never seen anything like this. No, it's standard fare and everything that you've seen in Wolfenstein previously, or other World War II era games you're going to see here, with a little bit of a futuristic twist to it, because this is the what-if scenario if the Nazis had this futuristic tech, okay? Now, outside of the standard FPS gameplay of the game, you're also going to get some cool Easter eggs. Just like with Wolfenstein: The New Order, in every chapter of the game there is a hidden Wolfenstein 3D throwback stage, where you are playing a more modernized version of Wolfenstein 3D with actual vector graphics now, actual 3D graphics in it, rather than just the 2D sprites that were back on that game back in the 90s on PC. And so it's a throwback, and it's cool because it is fun, especially for those who are fans of that era of FPS game. You'll enjoy them. But I'll be honest with you, they're pretty much only in the game to pad the game. So it's cool that they're in there. You get a little bit of extra FPS gameplay, and if you get that nostalgic feeling from when you actually might have played that game in the 90s, if you're not like me and you never played that game in the 90s, maybe not so much. And after the first few of them, you're going to be like, I really don't really care about doing this over and over, especially because ultimately, guess what? They don't amount to anything. They don't actually help you in the story of the game at all. They're just there for filler content. It's a cool Easter egg, but again, it's just that, an Easter egg, and it really shouldn't be said, oh, that's a major part of the game, because it's really not. It's just there for padding, if anything else. So from everything I just told you, you might say, alright, so it's a 5 to 7 hour long game, and it sounds like you're going to be fighting generic Nazis, maybe some futuristic tech. Is that it? And spoiler alert to anyone who hasn't played the game, or doesn't want any plot spoiled, right now I'm going to reveal a critical plot point here in the video, in the review, and the things you're going to see. It has to be said, it is a spoiler, and I'm happy that no one spoiled it for me, but if I had known that this was in the game, I actually would have been even more interested in the game than I actually was. This game has around, I'd say around probably 65% through it, a huge plot twist that I did not expect, alright? So spoiler alert, you're on the heels of Helga, this researcher who has the location of Death's Head's compound, but you find out the reason that the Nazis have all this powered up tech is because they were doing research into this guy called King Otto, who 1,000 years prior had basically vanished off the face of the map, and no one knows what happened to him. There are rumors that he had burned down his own city and his cathedral, and it made no sense because at the time he had done all this advanced research into this more modernized technology that allowed him to win this big war in Europe, but then he destroyed everything, and no one understood what the hell, like, why did he do that? It's very confusing. So you're on the heels of this researcher trying to find out what's going on. 65% of the way through the game, all hell breaks loose, and guess what happens? Spoiler, some supernatural energy is let loose from the planet, from the dig that they were doing to do research into the King Otto's empire, and Nazi zombies appear. Yes, they take over, and they're overriding everything. And how cool was it when I thought this was just going to be a World War II era epic, you know, kind of just killing generic Nazis, and it turns into Nazi zombies. Now there's a horror element to it, and it's pretty cool with the different kinds of zombies. There's some zombies that have guns, some zombies that are real fast, and they chase after you, and then you unlock the double-barrel shotgun, so you get to use that against zombies. So it's kind of like a hybrid of different things. In addition to that, there is some replayability in the game, because when this happens, you have some options to do certain things. Like there's a girl who's part of the story who you can save, or you might not save her, and it slightly changes the plot, even though not so much, but it adds a little bit of replayability if you want to see both scenarios and stuff like that. And the final few stages, in my opinion, are the best gameplay of the game, where you're kind of fighting not only the Nazis, but the zombies. Sometimes they're fighting against each other, and you can sneak up and take advantage of that. Sometimes the Nazis and zombies will be fighting, the Nazis will get killed, but then turn into zombies, so now you've got a horde of zombies in front of you. Really cool stuff. And of course, there's a mech for one whole stage that you get to use, although it's very limited in its implementation, and that stage is actually the shortest one in the entire game. But it means to be said that the ending and like the lead up to it is pretty freaking awesome, with that supernatural element completely turning the game on its head when you're about a little less than 3/4 through it. Okay, so I loved that twist, and for me it was like the perfect time, because I'd say around chapter 6 out of 8, you're starting to get bored. You're like, it was good, you know, it was great for the first 4 or 5 hours, but now I'm kind of getting bored. It's the same thing, killing these Nazis over and over. And that's when the twist happens. You're like, damn, yes, now you feel refreshed. And then from there, it's just like a rush towards the home stretch of the game and a cool, epic final boss fight that I will not spoil in this video, but really cool. So, for all intents and purposes, Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, very similar to the New Order from last year, certainly does not have the insanely high production value and the replayability. If you remember that game last year, you could actually branch off paths and completely change the course of the game depending on choices you made. Not so here. But for a $20 game, and I need to re-say that, this game is only $20 as a digital release, 1/3 of the cost of a retail game, and you're going to get a solid 5 to 7 hours of enjoyment out of it. And if you actually like the throwback stages of Wolfenstein 3D, maybe even more, it's a really great value for your buck. Hardcore fans of FPS games, fans of the Wolfenstein franchise, anyone who's played one of those reimagined Wolfenstein games from the past couple of years is definitely going to enjoy the hell out of this game and might even wonder, why didn't I hear about this? There was no hoopla, no advertising budget. It pretty much was just produced quickly and thrown out there within a year of the release of the New Order. And even I didn't know about it until the very last minute. And I said, I definitely want to check this out. And I am glad that I did. It's something like this. It's not a game that breaks the mold, but it's a game that does what it does well. And for $20, it's a gem. It really is a gem in the rough right now. Right now, we're in a very slower time for game releases here in May of 2015. And to have a game like this come out and entertain me for a few days was the perfect variety. You know what I mean? The spice of wow, a good FPS game. We haven't had one in a while, and we're not going to have anything else for a while. We have very sparse major releases. This was cool. This is a cool game you're going to want to check out if you have a few days to waste, right? Or a few days of free time. You want to enjoy a great game. Is it going to occupy massive amounts of time? No. It doesn't have a multiplayer mode, so no, you're not going to have massive replayability, but you're still going to enjoy it. And especially, again, if you enjoyed the ride from Wolfenstein: The New Order, this is going to be your cup of tea, okay? So I have to review this game based off of, number one, comparing it to all the other stuff that's come out so far recently this year, and number two, to the price. It's only 1/3 of the price of a full retail game, and that massively has to go into effect in my review score. Does it break the mold? No. Does it add anything new and exciting to the first-person shooter genre? No. Does it give you more of the kind of fun gameplay that you already like? Yes, and that's where it excels. They knew we're not going to go crazy with a huge budget. We're just going to do what we can with limited resources and release it on the cheap. That's what they did, and I feel they exceeded on all cylinders. Now, of course, when you do play a game, you do look for originality. You do look for stuff. Having the Nazi zombies in there is a great twist. I feel that it does come in a little too late in the game. If it had come in maybe around halfway, it would have really gave me a little bit more of an urge to like the game a little more. But I could say when the zombies came in, I was a little bit frustrated at how annoying the game was getting, and then I was like, yes, now is the time for it. But I would have liked a little bit more, maybe just a little. Maybe if the game had 9 or 10 chapters, it would have been perfect for me. But for me, it does seem just a tiny bit short, and the zombies are there a little bit short-lived. Could have done a little bit better with that. So all things considered, from everything that I just told you, Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, my review, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a great value for your buck. If this were a $50, $60 retail game, I'd be pissed. But being that it's not, it's only a $20 budget title, it gives you fun for your dollar. It's a great value, and you should definitely check it out. Again, especially if you're a fan of the FPS genre and previous Wolfenstein games. Other people maybe need not apply. Oh, I'm looking for a better, more robust experience with replayability with multiplayer and all that. Then go look for another game, a $60 release down the road. This is not your cup of tea, but for those of us who wanted something quick and fun, this was very, very good. I hope you'll check it out. I hope you won't overlook it, because I get the feeling a lot of people don't even know it exists because of the way it was released with almost no hoopla, right? No advertisement. No one knows that it's even out. It's definitely worth a look, so do not pass it over. Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, 8 out of 10. Solid release. Hope you check it out. And I hope that you enjoyed this honest truth review with maximum truth and minimum bullshit from my own personal experiences. Okay, everyone? That's it. Short and sweet episode of The Hateful Truth. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time for another game review. Peace out. Oh, shit. Armies of the damned. coming for me.